Hey guys, it's Derek. In a recent video I made some references to the fact that I really love tech, and I gave a couple of reasons as to why I love tech so much. I just wanted to expand on that in today's video. I'm in my car as usual on the way to work, and I just wanted to talk about some of the things about tech and why I love tech so much and why the title of this video is so apt. Even when I was little, I loved the thought of tech. I love to upgrade stuff. It's one of those things that I was never content with having like the stock standard operating system. I was never content with having something that was basic. I was always looking forward to upgrades. I remember when I was kind of little, we went to computer stores and my dad and I used to pick all the components and get the guy at the time to assemble them, because we weren't able to, obviously, because you got to pay for it first. And we'd spend hours sitting there and discussing the size of the hard drive, the speed of the processor, and everything like that, which was within the realms of our capabilities in terms of budget. Back then, computers were super expensive. When you compare the specs of those computers to what we have in this current day and age, and I used to love doing that. As time moved on, I used to always look forward to new OS upgrades. Like I remember lining up at midnight to get Windows 98. It's just those fun things that made me kind of always want to reminisce. I remember getting the iPhone 3 and I actually queued up on the first day of iPhone 3. I actually remember catching the train into the city to the Apple store. I think I left the house at like 5 or 5:30 in the morning. I was like 10th in line or something, and it was funny because for some reason that day their Telstra system went down and they weren't able to sell us any phones on plan for a number of hours. So we actually sat there, and a lot of people bypassed us who weren't with Telstra, who were either buying the phone outright or buying it through another carrier. And I remember I didn't end up getting the phone till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I sat there, and obviously you can't pee because you lose your spot in line. And I just sat there. It wasn't freezing cold, luckily, but I was there for a good many hours before anything happened. It was still one of the memories that I really think back on very fondly. And ironically, that phone died about 2 weeks later. It just wouldn't recharge. It just kept switching off. I actually had to bring it back to the Apple store in Chatswood and get a new phone. So I made all that effort. I put a screen protector on it and put all my apps on it. Actually, I had to go back and swap it for a new one and start all over again. And I think I had to pay extra for another screen protector because I couldn't get the old one off and apply it to the new one. It was something that I'll never forget. Since then, I've had a whole series of other phones and other computers, and the only other thing that reached that level of high for me was getting the first iPad, when I thought, this is like science fiction. It's like Star Trek or something. You go and walk around with a tablet, like with a flat screen where you can get access to the internet. That was the coolest thing ever, and I loved the iPad. The very first one was like a dream come true. Even before the iPhones, I remember we had all those little PDAs, the personal digital assistants, the HP iPad, which was compact at one point, and there was the Palm Tungsten. You remember those things? They were so awesome. I love those. The thing I want to talk about now is, how does tech impact your level of happiness? Joy and happiness is the main aim of life, and tech for me is part of it. Back in the old days where it was just me, I was kind of all over this whole upgrade thing, where every year, because I was independent, I was living alone, I had the disposable income to actually pretty much do whatever I want when it came to small tech. I could pretty much get whatever I wanted when I wanted because I was financially independent and I had no financial responsibilities. It was kind of almost silly back then, because a new device would come out and it'd be like, the camera's gone from 10 megapixels to 12 megapixels. Next day I'm at the shop and better buying a new one. Now I've got to be a lot more judicious because I have responsibilities. I can't be throwing money around buying unnecessary upgrades. And it got me thinking, like, for an average Joe or an average Jane who's not so heavily into tech, but they like their tech, they don't need to be at the bleeding edge, but they do love to upgrade their stuff so that they get the latest features and stuff like that. But they also have other responsibilities financially, whether they have to pay a mortgage or whether they have to support a family, or they just don't have that level of disposable income that they can afford to upgrade every year multiple devices. If you think about it, like, for example, if you're an Apple person, you have the opportunity, if you choose to, every year to upgrade your computer, your phone, your headphones, your tablet, and now your watch. You've got so many potential upgrades. Apple obviously wants you to upgrade everything as often as possible because that's how they make money. But realistically, trying to figure out the sweet spot as to what you need to upgrade, what you should upgrade, what you want to upgrade, and how you can afford to upgrade. My number one rule when it comes to upgrade above everything else is I have to ensure that by upgrading a piece of tech, the number one most important thing to me is that it can't affect the lifestyle of my family. So if it's a matter of upgrading to the latest iPhone, but the kids don't get a new pair of sneakers for sport, or you can't afford to pay for their school camp because you want your new iPhone, that cannot happen under any circumstances. After I've decided that I am financially capable of doing this without putting a major dent in the lifestyle of my family, the next thing I consider is whether this upgrade is going to bring me joy. And when it comes to bring me joy, it's not just the fact that it's going to make me happy because I got the newest, coolest thing and I can walk around, I can flex and say, new phone, who dis? It's just a matter of whether it's going to bring me longer term enjoyment. If I get something which is incremental and basically you just don't notice it, it may be faster under the hood, you may have a faster processor, a bit better memory and all that kind of stuff that you don't really notice. Is it worth putting down $2,500 every year to make that upgrade? And bear in mind that tech never lasts, especially for someone like me who always wants to upgrade. Whenever there's an opportunity to upgrade, tech never lasts and never worth anything, so you can never get good value if you ever bother to try and resell your phones or trade it in. So I have to ask myself every time, is there a compelling feature? Is there something really massive that's going to make me want to upgrade and spend my money that I could spend on something else or someone else? So I can get that and upgrade something in the house, for example, to make the house more comfortable. We could buy a new TV that all the family can enjoy it and not just me. And once I've decided that I'm going to enjoy it, and it's got to be an enjoyment for myself. It can't be an enjoyment where I'm going to bring it to work or bring it and show my friends and say, how cool is this? I've got the latest thing again. And it's also not a matter of keeping up with everyone else. I don't upgrade because everyone else has iPhone 15 and I don't. But once I've decided that I'm going to enjoy upgrading it, I've just got to work out what's the best bang for my buck and whether there are any compelling features that I must have. There are a lot of people who will upgrade to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which has just been released, and use about 1% of the features. And they could have done just as well with a perfectly working, say, iPhone 12. If you don't need this 48 megapixel camera that's capable of shooting ProRAW and 4K 30 and all this kind of stuff, if you don't need to have the dynamic island and the action button, if you don't need, for example, with your Apple Watch, if you don't need ECG monitoring and oxygen saturations, and all you want to do is for it to tell the time, do you need to get Apple Watch Series 9? Do you need a brighter screen? Do you need a faster processor? If you're just getting an iPad so that you can watch Netflix or Disney Plus, you don't need the fastest processor. You don't need compatibility with all these Apple Pencils and trackpads and all this kind of stuff. They're all good and they're useful. And if it's something that you would use in the future, then yes, it's always good. I've also made a video about this. It's always good to buy specs that are higher than what you want to use right now, because you may want to use those features in the future. And also, if you get something with a little bit more memory and a bit of a faster processor, you are actually going to extend the longevity of your device. Buying the latest thing that is out right now theoretically could last you 3 or 4 years. The processor at that time, if you've got the newest and the greatest processor now, in 3 or 4 years it will still be acceptably fast to run whatever software that you're going to plan to use in that time, and you're not going to have to upgrade because your device is obsolete. This is the same reason why I do not advise people to upgrade to an older version. Again, using the comparison of iPhones, iPhone 15 has just been released. I see absolutely zero reason for you to go out and buy an iPhone 14 as a form of upgrade, because you're buying tech that's already a year behind. In my opinion, again, it's my opinion only, if you cannot upgrade to the piece of tech that you want, you need to save up. You do not compromise. You do not buy a lesser spec thing where you settle. You will regret it 99% of the time. You'll bring it home and you wish you bought the one with the higher specs. If you can't afford it, you wait. You never, ever, ever borrow money to buy tech, because tech goes down in value the minute you tap with your Apple Pay and your credit card. So you're borrowing money for losing. It's not even an investment. It's just a frivolous spend in that sense. So you're paying interest to borrow money to buy a piece of tech that's not worth any money. It makes no sense. I waited 12 months to get an Apple Watch Ultra 2. The reason I didn't get the Apple Watch Ultra 1 is, number one, is back then that was in line with Series 8 and I had a Series 7 Apple Watch. I really liked it, but I felt that the upgrade was too soon. I was willing to see what Ultra 2 was going to bring. Having waited a year, even though it feels like that there hasn't been a huge upgrade from Ultra 2 to Ultra 1, There's been incremental upgrades with the processor, the screen and the features and things like that. My watch is a year older, so 2 years on is a more reasonable to me upgrade path than 1 year for an Apple Watch. So I made the jump this year. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it does not impact the quality of life for my family for me to have upgraded this Apple Watch. My daughter still gets to go on her school camp. I'm still able to afford a new computer for my kid who starts college or university next year. I can still afford to pay the bills, and that's the thing we've got to consider. Tech to me is a passion, and that's why I make tech videos. So I'd love to be one of those YouTubers who can actually get all the latest and greatest and do unboxings all day long. But you got to think about it. The reasons why these top performing tech YouTubers are able to purchase, for example, 5 iPhones of all different colors and just unbox all of them, either is because they've worked their asses off and they've managed to build up a level of income where they're able to do that. The phones may be on loan, so after they unbox them they actually have to return them, or they get sponsored. So there are a number of reasons. Those really high performing YouTubers who do all these tech unboxings and it looks like that they can afford everything, they work their asses off to get to the level where they get so much community, they get so much support, they get so much interest that they can either afford it or they can have people who want to promote their products with them because they have such great reach in terms of audience. That's it for today. I just wanted to have a chat to you. For an average person, those are the reasons why I would or why I wouldn't upgrade a piece of tech. Most people who like this sort of stuff love to upgrade, and they would be happy to have the latest thing every time, but it's not practical, it's not efficient, it's not good use of our money. And we have to make a decision. If 1 year you decide that you need a new tablet and a new phone, but you can only afford one or the other, you have to make the decision based on research as to which one you think you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Do you get the new iPad with some incremental features, or do you get that new phone which has a new feature that you've never had before and something that you really love? I think that would be a no-brainer, and that is how I would make a decision, and that is how I would undertake my pursuit of tech happiness. So thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'm going to go to work now, and I'll catch you next time in another video. See you later. Bye. Got to stop now. There's a traffic light.